Hiya folks, Sandro here with more cartoon news and shenanigans. And if you like more cartoon news and shenanigans, I'd ask you to please subscribe to my channel. In fact, do it right now so you don't forget about it later. And I thank you very much for that, guys. So without further ado, I am doing a quick fire review on the Patrick Star Show, which just recently came out. There was two 11-minute episodes that, it's one episode, but there's two segments to it. And I wanted to talk about it. I'm going to talk about the whole episode. It's 22 minutes long. But like I said, it's one of those things where it's like there's two different episodes that are segmented. And I'm going to give my thoughts very quickly. I don't want to make this like a half an hour video like usual whenever I do these quick fire reviews. And this is one with images. I'm actually going to, sometimes I do these quick fire reviews and I just spew whatever comes to my head, and I just have like a Wikipedia page in the background. But I'm actually going to showcase some of the images and stuff to give my thoughts here. So it's obviously by Nickelodeon. So the first thing I want to talk about was the theme song, which is just bad. It's terrible. I'm not a fan of the theme song. Basically, it's the Patrick. It has like a little like background where he's like doo 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 doo. And basically, Patrick just goes around the house and says, "This is my show, the Patrick Star Show," and da da da. And it's nowhere near as iconic as SpongeBob's, like, who lives in a pineapple under the sea, SpongeBob Squarepants. It's nowhere near as iconic of a freaking first introduction to the Patrick Star Show. I didn't dig the theme song at all. Let me know your thoughts on that. Because I sure as hell was not enjoying that. So much like SpongeBob has a pet snail named Gary. I forgot its name. Spiky, I think it's called Spiky or something like that. You guys let me know in the comments section. But this little urchin, this is one of those like sea urchins. There was actually an episode of SpongeBob where these things were like crawling. They were like under a stove or so. I remember an episode of SpongeBob where they were like under a stove, and was it sea anemones or sea urchins or something? I can't remember, but I think it's called Spiky, right? Let me hear. Does he say it? The best. It is an urchin. Okay. Okay, so they just did, so on Patrick's head there, they do the, which was the ending of like the original SpongeBob theme song, which was a fun little callback, I guess. Is it Pokey? Ouchie. His name is Ouchie. So that's I don't know, it's nowhere near as good as Gary. Let's be real. It's just a silly little urchin. Gary is just a much more memorable character. I think they should have given Patrick a pet that had eyeballs, because then it's more relatable. This is literally just like an urchin that doesn't have eyes. It just has a mouth. How do you relate to if it had facial expressions, I feel like it'd be a lot more relatable. So this is a terrible pick for a pet. So that's already two things I was not a fan of. The theme song was bad, and the pet instead of a snail, they give him just an urchin named Ouchie, which is not great. And another thing I don't like is Patrick wearing a shirt, which is just weird. I don't know, man. Patrick wearing a shirt just throws me for a loop. It's so weird. So yeah, we get introduced. So one of the running gags in this show is like there's this magic door, and it opens up to like different places and things, and like a knight in armor will like come chasing after him. It happens like 3 times in the episode. And I think this was a reference to one of the episodes where I don't know. It was like Squidward's Tiki Land. There was like a whole song about it. It was like, hoo, ha, hoo, tiki, tiki. I remember that. Yeah, I think that might be a throwback to that. I'm not 100%. Patrick does a little bit of a song there. So Squidina. Yeah, oh yeah, Plankton's in here, by the way. So SpongeBob, all of the characters, except for like, I guess, Plankton and Mr. Krabs. If Mr. Krabs is probably in here somewhere. They're all teenagers. This seems to be like some kind of before SpongeBob started. So SpongeBob doesn't work at the Krusty Krab. He actually even looks for jobs in this episode, in one of these episodes here. So Squidina is just an okay character. She's fine. She actually reminds me of Tootie from Fairly Odd Parents, where, I don't know. She just kind of reminds me of that kind of character. But don't worry, she's not in love with anybody. It's not like Tootie, where she's secretly in love with Timmy and, she's always gushing. She just kind of reminds me of like that small kind of like nerdy character with a high-pitched kind of voice. Not really that high-pitched, but, she kind of has that kind of like little sibling, little sister with glasses, nerdy kind of vibe to her. And she's very serious. She's very serious about the show. They don't explain why she's a squid. I feel like this is another Pearl. You guys know, like, Mr. Krabs' daughter is Pearl. She's probably adopted. That's my thought here. She's probably adopted. There's no way, like, what's the backstory? Cecil, like Patrick's father, like made love to a squid woman, and I don't see it. She's probably adopted. That's probably the most logical idea. And yeah, that's my thought there. So let's keep going. So she's good. I can't say that I hate this character. I think she's just very okay. All of Patrick's parents so far, I need to see more of them. But they, in the second episode especially, they really go in on the SpongeBob and Squidward, which I was a little bit worried about because I thought this was about like Patrick's show, But this episode, the first episode, was really bad though. So when I think back to the first, I guess I'll talk about Plankton. Yeah, so Plankton's in here. He has a commercial for the Chum Bucket. The whole episode here is that Patrick wants food. There's also this like family of like dartfish that are like very tiny, and they're eating crumbs, and like Patrick wants some, and the whole episode is just really bad. But it's basically Patrick wanting food, and you hear he wants, they eat breakfast and they finish without him, and we get introduced. I do think his parents have decent voice actors. I definitely think Grandpat has one of the more iconic voices of the show. They also have a lot more of the fish. I'll talk about that later, the fish in the backgrounds. But yeah, so we do get introduced to Patrick's parents. Squidina is like very in on the imaginary play that like, Patrick has his own show. She's like, calling people, fake calls, and apparently she calls SpongeBob though. So I don't know if that might be a real cell phone. I'm pretty sure in the second episode she calls SpongeBob on her cell phone somehow. I guess so. It's a real cell phone. But here in this episode, she was using it to make fake calls. Patrick doesn't get to eat. There's Grandpat. By the way, he, apparently every morning, they forget who Grandpat is, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Grandpat. It's me." They throw dishes out the window here. Here's those dartfish that they eat crumbs. I don't know. It wasn't really funny. They were trying to be like funny about it, but like it's like I didn't laugh. I honestly didn't laugh at all during this whole show. Here, Patrick finds like a city under his carpet and says his mom should vacuum or under the rug more often. This is Patrick's grandpa telling him about dinosaurs, alluding to, this is actually fun. Plankton is like some kind of like bronco, what do you even call it? A bronchosaurus or whatever the heck that, I can't remember the name. The one with the really long, is it a bronchosaurus? I don't know, whatever the heck. And then there's like a Squidward T-Rex and a whole bunch of the voice cast from SpongeBob does return for this. I just want to make that clear. So yeah, we have this, we have that. It wasn't funny. Patrick like eats this like god awful. He decides to cook his own recipes, makes some kind of like garbage casserole thing out of like a bunch of household objects, and it's terrible. And then they eat dinner, even though they just kind of finished breakfast not so long ago. They make another joke about this. I didn't get the dartfish joke. It just wasn't funny. I don't know. And so they have dinner. Then Patrick eats, and his mom makes one of those garbage casseroles that, and there she is on her phone again. So yeah, his mom makes his mom's name is Bunny. Bunny makes that garbage casserole a second time, like how Patrick made it. And this is it, man. Like, this was the whole episode. He puts his pet to sleep, and that's it. His parent, there's the door. His parents put him to sleep, and that's how the episode ends. It just ends. It just has that ending, man. And there's that night. I said that there was that magic door. And I guess that's going to be a running gag in this show, that like they're going to open a door and it's going to be the wrong door. But like the entire episode was just LOL, so random humor. I did not find this show funny. I give it a 5 out of 10. I'm not even done. We're only halfway done. But I give it a 5 out of 10. And I thought that first episode was just not great. And I wanted to talk about the first episode of Spongebob Squarepants, which was much, much better. Like the first. Think about the stakes of the first episode. It was like all of these anchovies rush in, and SpongeBob, he's this awkward guy. He gets this job at a restaurant. Like many people went through. I myself got a job at a restaurant from a young age, and it's like, he goes in there and then they tell him, they tell like SpongeBob to go get this mythical spatula with like port and starburn attachments. And then the anchovies come, and, Mr. Krabs, like, he sniffs into the air and he's like, anchovies. And I don't know, that episode is so iconic. There was nothing memorable about this episode of Patrick Star Show's first episode. And also, who could forget that song where it was like, living in the spotlight, living in the hot light, na 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 na. So yeah, in the first episode of SpongeBob, there's that like little, I don't even know what kind of song, the ukulele song there. As he feeds all the anchovies, he's like making burgers at like a million. He at super fast speeds, he's like throwing the burgers. He feeds all the anchovies, and that was the first episode of SpongeBob, and it was so memorable, so iconic. And to see this spin-off of such a legendary show, it's so mediocre. It's below. I just give it a 5 out of 10. It was so standard. It was so boring. It was so uninspired. It is a spin-off, so what was I expecting? But I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the Patrick Star Show. So yeah, now they immediately lean. I don't find Patrick's family to be that like funny. They're just not that funny. Maybe I need to see more of them. But they immediately in the second episode, oh my God, my voice is going. I don't have a bottle of water near me. Nope, it's empty. Okay. But they immediately lean into Squidward and SpongeBob. And so in this episode, Squidward is apparently a teenage newspaper boy. And he's trying to get, is it Cecil? Yeah, Cecil Star to pay for his newspapers. Apparently he's been stealing the newspaper, so Squidward wants to kind of shake him down for all the money he owes him. And he ties a knot there. Patrick gets a job here. Patrick's parents have jobs, apparently. I don't think we know what they do, though. Well, I'm not 100% sure. There's Squidina. She also, like, she just doesn't have a major role in any of these. She just kind of is like a support character for Patrick. But then, one of the cool things I want to talk about here is a lot of this character was from SpongeBob also, this guy right here. One of the good things about the Patrick Star Show is a lot of these like old school characters are coming back, and we're seeing new fish. That's a problem that SpongeBob had. I feel like as the seasons went on, they really focused on like Sandy, all of the mainstays. And obviously, I believe the voice actor of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy passed away. Or one of them, or both of them. Or was it just one guy who voiced Mermaid Man and Barnacle? I can't remember. There was a cameo. There was like a poster of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy in one of the doors. In his room, in Patrick's room there. I think it was like on the wall, actually. But yeah, one of the things that I will give a thumbs up for this show is that we're actually seeing a lot of the townsfolk, which is not something we see a lot in SpongeBob, right? We also see Fred. Fred appears that, Fred is the guy with my leg, he's always complaining about his leg getting injured. So he does appear, and we do see a bunch of townsfolk, and they actually have conversations, and it's just really refreshing to see all of these like old characters and new characters being put in the front lines. Now, a lot of the voices you can very clearly tell are like, the voice of SpongeBob. What's his name? Tom Kenny, or I can't remember his name. Is it Tom Kenny? I think. The voice of a lot of them are done by him and the guy who does Plankton, and a lot of the voice actors are repeated here. But that's there's no big deal about that. They only have like a speaking role for like 2 seconds. But so they try and get jobs. SpongeBob. Now here's SpongeBob with a bow tie and this awful like cowlick. And like I said, so they're Squidward and SpongeBob are teenagers in this one. And I guess Patrick is also like a sort of teenager, but he doesn't really feel like a teenager. And it's just really weird. So there's Squidina. Again, she just doesn't really do much. She's just an okay character. And so this is what I'm talking about. Like they have a lot of interactions with the fish, which is something that I think the original SpongeBob series needs to do more of. I think that throughout the series, they needed to introduce more new characters. They kind of just like found a bunch that were really good, like Mr. Krabs and Larry and Sandy and Squidward and Patrick and a whole bunch. They found like 10 good characters, and then they really stopped introducing like fresh characters that made like they introduced new characters, but they would be like one episode and you never see them again. So so this was good. They get jobs, they get fired like 3 times. There was a funny joke in there. I can't remember what it was. It was like it was like they made a joke about how they had been they're good at getting jobs. They've already had 3 since this morning. It's like not realizing that getting fired is a terrible thing. That was like the only funny thing between both episodes, and like it was barely a chuckle. But yeah, so here's SpongeBob trying to like shadily sell this old woman, or no, they were gonna paint her fence. I think that's what. Yeah, they end up painting her fence, and they paint it into like a woman or something, and all the other buildings. I don't know. Is there an image? See, this is what I'm talking about. Like we get that old guy. This is the guy from the chocolate with. I think that's him, right? The guy with the chocolate with nuts, where he's like, he was in the cast, and he's like, it does my heart good to con a couple of suckers. And he even sells like Patrick like an image of like when he was a fat guy, and Patrick's like, I'll take 20 or something something like that. And here's this like squid character that's a cab driver. This is what I'm talking about. We get all these like fresh new fish characters, which is really refreshing to see. Let me go back. Where was that like image of the and they have that. They do bring back the French narrator, and they do a couple. They only do one of those. They do this. Yeah, so they paint the host to be like a woman, like a beautiful woman with eyelashes and stuff, and it winks there, and then all the buildings are lining up. Okay, all right, and there's SpongeBob and Noir Sense. So yeah, here's where this is like it was just so random, guys. It was so random. Even the first episode where Patrick cooks. It was such a badly put together episode. It just kind of like abruptly ends with Patrick going to sleep. This episode is similar. It just kind of like ends. Fred is in like this mobster movie, and he just says my leg over and over again. So it's like they're just really, really playing off SpongeBob really hard here, instead of like giving Patrick his own show. Squidward eventually gets the nickel in the end. He gets a nickel. He gets some money. You can see the acne on Squidward's nose, trying to indicate he's kind of like a teenager here. And it's really weird because like Squidward has like pimples. SpongeBob looks like a teenager. Meanwhile, Patrick doesn't look like he aged, or like he looks like perfectly normal. The only thing they did is really put a shirt on. Maybe if he had like lost weight or something. I don't know. He doesn't really. Patrick just looks like Patrick. They really didn't. I don't know. I'm not sure what they were going with here, but like Patrick doesn't look any different whatsoever, other than wearing a shirt and different colored pants. We got to be like those tough guys on TV. And yeah, so Squidward hired. They were getting, the whole thing was that they were getting jobs this episode. And Squidward hires them to shake down his own father for the newspaper money that he owes him. And he ends up getting a nickel here. They get a nickel from him, and then SpongeBob and Patrick end up splitting the nickel. They actually crack it in half. I don't know if we could see that here. Yeah, they just crack it in half there. And yeah, and just to make Squidward mad, I guess, haha. And that's it. It just kind of ends again. There it is, the end. Not great. Not a great start. I give it a 5 out of 10. I'll say it again. There's a show that I've been watching called Monsters at Work. Monsters at Work. Hold on, I didn't type it in. I still didn't type it in. Monsters at Work. Third time's a charm, baby. Monsters at Work. This is a great show. It takes place right after the events of the first the original Monsters Inc. movie. They also have throwbacks to Monsters University. The lore is really good here. They also hired back that red character that helped Randall. I can't remember his name. He's like a red, like bean kind of character. We haven't seen Boo. We haven't seen Boo at all. There's only been 2 episodes. I like this show. I would, instead of watching the Patrick Star Show, go watch Monsters at Work. This show is so much better than the Patrick Star Show. I believe it's on Disney Plus, and it's just better. It's just better than the Patrick Star Show. And the only reason I'm comparing them is because this week I picked up both shows, where it's like I picked up the Patrick Star Show and I picked up Monsters at Work, and I'm going to put down the Patrick Star Show because I didn't like it. I don't think it's very valuable in quality, the Patrick Star Show, and I recommend the Monsters at Work. It's just better. I didn't feel that the Patrick Star Show does anything fresh, new. It's just another show to kill time. That's all it is. But I do appreciate the 2D animation. It's very solid 2D animation, so I will give them that. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. That's it from me. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye. Peace out.